What's the worst thing about how they make new cars now? The ones with no buttons. That irks me. You shouldn't need to dig through a screen to turn the volume down. Honda brought back the volume knob on their radios a couple of years ago because too many customers complained. Shopping for stereos on Crutchfield, you get some hilariously condescending help text when you try to filter for stereos with a volume knob. It reads, "Some people just have to have an actual volume knob that protrudes from the radio's face." What a bunch of effing tools. Damn. I forgot about Crutchfield. That she just brought me way back. Back when I had money to spend on my car. Crutchfield is still a thing. My ex had a 2016 Pilot. It had button controls. I hated driving it in the morning. I would turn it on and the radio would be blasting, and I would have to wait for the console to finish booting up to turn it down. That is a design flaw. Plain and simple. I am in a rental 2019 Ram. There are so many knobs, it's scary because the gear selector is also a knob just a few inches from all the other knobs. The gear selector isn't mechanically connected. The electronics are smart enough to prevent you from going into reverse or parking while moving. Chrysler only fixed that after a Jeep killed that dude from Star Trek. Truck parked in the middle of the highway with the axle fallen off. Nickelback song came on, it was Muscle Memory. I will die on the hill of touchscreen consoles. I don't mind having a screen as long as there are physical buttons as well, but touchscreens require you to take your eyes off the road. I don't understand how it's legal. If I mounted an iPad on my car and used it while driving, I would get a ticket. But insert the tablet into the dash, and now it's fine? No buttons is 100% a deal breaker. Touchscreens are more prone to failure, harder and more expensive to repair or replace, and are more distracting than physical buttons, but they're cheaper and profit is worth more than driver safety. As someone else pointed out, they're also terrible in cold climates. They're entirely unusable if you're wearing gloves, and are easily affected by freezing cold temperatures which are common where I live. I just downgraded from a 2021 to a 2019 vehicle because I like the buttons better than a giant touchscreen. I have a 2009 Corolla. I recently went car shopping to give my Corolla to my high school cousin. Every car I looked at had a screen and I told the dealer that I hated screens. He told me how it was safe because of hands-free calling. I just don't pick up when someone calls me. If it's an emergency, they'll call again and I know to pull off and call back when it's safe. In the end, I'm keeping my Corolla. I have a Tesla and it's a great car, but I hate having a touchscreen and no buttons. I sometimes take my eyes off the road to use the touchscreen. I asked a Tesla owner about that issue and he said that the goal is to be able to speak just about everything you want to do. When I rode with him he was able to do a lot by voice command. I don't know how hard it is to set up though. That sounds god-awful to me, to be honest. I hate voice controls in general. Yeah, commanding a computer to turn the volume down is more intensive an interaction than simply turning a dial. Also, if the volume is super loud like I enjoy in my car from time to time, does that mean he yells at the car? It just seems like buttons are a good way to leave everyone else in the car out of the process. My wife and I were looking at new Subaru Outback and Forester models a few months ago. Other things guided us toward the Forester, too, but the fact the Forester has manual controls, knobs/switches, for key things like AC, seat heating, stereo, etc., was not a small thing. The Outback was cool, but I hate that giant touchscreen. All I could think was okay, so that will be one of the first things that breaks, no doubt, and when it does it is going to cost thousands to replace. The touchscreen console is maddening. It's bad enough you have to wait for the computer to cycle through its introductory screens when the car turns on and the radio is blaring "Wake Me Up Before You Go" or some shit and you're helplessly waiting for the radio screen to come up so you can change it. But buttons also allow you to make adjustments by feeling without taking your eyes off the road. You can't change channels or modes on a touchscreen without looking at it, and that means you're not looking ahead while driving. How has a whole industry of safety experts allowed this to happen? Between the touchscreens and cell phones, it's no wonder so many drivers are now seemingly incapable of driving in one lane at a time. How has a whole industry of safety experts allowed this to happen? I wonder about this so often. My car, Mazda 3, was specifically designed against this irksome modern design trope. Just the right amount of buttons in places you'd expect them. I have a Mazda CX-30 which has the same system and I agree. It's the perfect setup. My Subaru has an 11 screen that controls just about everything. Until it crashes while I'm driving. The latest update helped a lot, but it's maddening how hinky that software is. The unanimous backlash is causing new designs across the industry to have analog redundancies, a smaller screen and relegating it to entertainment and navigation. I think it was the last few years of Outback or Forester that were the worst in the industry for their console UX. Heating seats, turning on AC, etc. all behind multiple menus in the touch screen. What makes me mad in my Subaru only uses a small bit of its giant screen for Android Auto. Like, if you give me a huge screen, let me use all of it for my GPS and not just the top quarter of the screen. Ugh. Don't get me wrong, I love tech, I love screens, and all that. But I want chunky buttons and thick knobs in my vehicles. My screen in a cart should be 100% infotainment. Control of the info should be buttons and knobs. Maybe even a lever or control stick for some stuff, hate gear select knobs and automatics. I'm with you on all of that. Just drove a knob shifting minivan the other day, no thanks. Especially not on the dash where it was. And then they are able to easily strip away features if you don't subscribe. Not possible when there are physical buttons, or at least not as seamless. The physical button doesn't really have much to do with that. It's entirely software that does it. You can spin that volume knob like it's a Beyblade, but if you aren't paying your $4.99 per month subscription for the deluxe premium radio control package, it's not going to do anything. I had a 2019 vehicle with physical climate controls. And yes, the controls were nice. But it was obvious they were nothing more than electronics since there was a submenu on the infotainment screen with climate controls on it. Actually, the physical button may make people more inclined to pay. Here's a button that doesn't do anything because you're too cheap to shell out a low cost of $59.99. 300% agreed. I also effing hate the capacitive, touch, buttons like the one Mercedes-Benz has started using. Love that my Giulia has real buttons for all the systems you need to use while driving, and the infotainment screen and controls don't look like someone stuck an iPad to the dashboard as an afterthought. Totally put me off the equivalent Mercedes and BMW. Subscription requirements for features that come with the car. The thought of this makes me so angry. I'd become a bicycle enthusiast just out of spite. They'll come for the bikes soon enough. Your tires are only provisioned for 600 rotations a month. Please upgrade if you would like additional distance. You've already applied the brakes 200 times this month. Please update your payment info for additional brake applications. Why is your bike braking 200 times a month? Sounds like it belongs in a junkyard. Because I can't even spell brake correctly, there is an additional charge. Do you mean like exercise bikes? Am I wrong to be concerned that we're headed toward licensing/renting everything? We just test drove a Mitsubishi Outlander and you got the subscription thing free for 2 years, then it was $170 or so a year afterward. It is the only way to remote start the car. So if you want a remote start, it'll cost almost $200 per year. No, thank you. I would have made them take the price off the vehicle before buying. You want me to buy a car with a feature and then pay for it? Discount the car to balance it out. If I bought the car, that equipment would be mine. How I use it is up to me. Systems that require an infrastructure? Sure, I'll pay for that. Cellular/satellite services, I'll pay if I want it. Is the seat warmer? Nope, I bought that. I'll use it when I want to, it's mine. Vehicle hacking is a growing movement. This convenience as a service model is going to push it even further. If they can afford to put it in the car, then they can afford for me not to pay them for it, whether I use it or not.
Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.